Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, boys and girls. I'm Mr. Schneider. Today we're going to learn about analog clocks and how to use them to tell time. Let's get started. Alright, so we're going to build ourselves an analog clock. Now they don't always have to be round, but we're going to make one that's round. Now when you look at an analog clock, it's going to have numbers on it, and it's going to have a couple of arms, and we'll talk about, or hands rather, we'll talk about what those do. First off, we're going to put a 12 at the top. We are going to put a 6 at the bottom. This is just the order that I like to go in. We're going to put a 3 on the right side and a 9 on the left side. So it's kind of like a compass with north, south, east, and west. We're going to go ahead and fill in all the other numbers from 1 to 12. And we already have the 3 there. We're going to keep going around. Now these numbers are going to be important not just for telling the hours in the time, but it'll also help us with a shortcut to figure out how many minutes are in the time. So after we have all the numbers there, 1 through 12, we're good. We are going to create some hands. Now there are 2 hands on a clock, sometimes 3, but we'll just talk about 2 for now. There's going to be a minute hand, which is always the longer one. Okay, and I have it pointing to the 12 there. And then there's also a short hand, which stands for the hour. So depending on what it's pointing at, it'll be a different time. Now I can change it and have the short hour hand point at a different time, a different number, and that creates a different time. That's 12 o'clock. Or if the minute hand is not pointing at the 12, then that changes the minutes. So this time I have right here is 5:15. So that's the parts of an analog clock. Now we're going to go ahead and take some time to figure out how to actually look at a clock and figure out what the time is. So we have a couple of clocks here, and you'll notice the main difference is that these clocks have little tick marks on the outside edge between all of the big numbers. Now these tick marks represent minutes. Each hour has 60 minutes in it, and there are actually 60 tick marks all the way around from 12 to the 12 again. Now the big numbers are darker tick marks, and you'll notice that they actually represent 5 minutes. So if we count by fives, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, we're at the 6, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. So that's 1 full hour all the way around the clock. Now, if we want to tell time, it's good to know that you can count by fives as well as know what we call little landmarks on the clock. The 12 represents 0 minutes, the 3 represents 15 minutes, the 6 represents 30 minutes, and the 9 represents 45 minutes. So if you know this, it's going to make it a lot quicker. You don't have to count from the very beginning all the way up to, say, 50 minutes or 48 or whatever it might be. You can just start at the nearest landmark that you know and then count your way up. So if we're going to tell time on an analog clock, you need to know 2 things. You need to know the hour hand, and you need to know the minute hand and where they are. So the first step that I want you to do is to look at the hour hand first. Now again, that is the short one, the shorter one, which is actually hiding right here. So this is the hour hand that I'm moving, and you need to look at where this is pointing, okay? It will either be directly on a number or it will be in between 2 numbers, okay? If the hour hand is pointing directly at a number, that is the hour of the time. If it is in between 2 numbers, the hour is the smaller number, okay? Even if it's close to, let's say, the 5 right here, it's between 4 and 5, so that means it is in the 4 o'clock hour, okay? So you have to be careful with that, because as it gets closer to the 5, it's not quite 5 yet until this minute hand is on the 12. Okay, 12 is where the hour starts. It's 0 minutes. If the hour hand is on the 5 and the minute hand is on the 12, then that is 5 o'clock. Okay. So the second thing you need to look at is the minute hand. The minute hand here tells you how many minutes, and it starts from 0 at the 12 and it goes all the way around to 60 minutes. Now we don't actually say 60. Once it's 4:59, the next minute will be 5 o'clock, not 4:60. Okay, we would say 5 o'clock. So then it goes to the next hour. So again, look at the hour hand first, then look at the minute hand to see where exactly it's pointing at. So if I did this, for instance, this hour hand is between the 8 and the 9. So that means it's 8 o'clock, the lower number. Then we look at the minute hand. It is between the 4 and the 5. Well, I know if I count by 5s, that's 5, 10, 15, 20. Then count the small tick marks, 21, 22, and 23. Now, if we look at this big clock right here, these actually move together, and it just shows you as time passes, as the minutes go on, you will see the hour hand here is moving on its own. And once it is at the 6, which is 30 minutes, it's halfway between 12 and 1. And as the minute hand goes around, and you see the time changing on the bottom here, as it goes around and around, once it gets to 12:57, 12:58, 12:59, then it's 1 o'clock. The hour hand's pointing at the 1, and the minute hand is back on the 12 again. So that is how to tell time on an analog clock. So now you can go ahead and finish the rest of the lesson. Make sure to read all the directions carefully. The online clocks that you saw me using just now, those are actually posted in the lesson. And let us know if you have any questions. And that's pretty much it for telling time on analog clocks. It's been fun. I hope you all had fun, and we will see y'all soon. Go Tigers.